Proud of You is a parenting advice podcast and support group for dads hosted by two goofy dads. They are not pediatricians, nutritionists, OBGYNs, psychologists, nor are they authorities on parenting. They're just two dinguses trying to figure it all out. Their advice should not be taken as expert information. Parenting looks different for everyone, and there's no wrong way to be a dad. Frankly, if you're taking the time to listen to a podcast about it, you're already doing a great job. And these dads are proud of you.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen. Hey, welcome back. I'm Derek Mata.
And I am Andrew Goody, and we are proud of you.
Yes. So I don't know how often you're or Facebook or social media or the news or anything like this. You know how they say that everywhere is hiring? The job market's never been better. But like
that's a lie.
Yeah,
it's a horrible lie.
My news feed shows that like everybody's laying people off. Like left and right. Intel just did one, last week, 2 weeks ago? They laid off 13,000 people. What was it? I heard that Purdue, I think what I know Purdue is a chicken company, so I'm not sure which Purdue, but they just laid off a whole bunch of people. Left and right. Like it's only August.
Yeah.
And what the fuck is going on?
Well, and it's been, you say it's only August. It's been 2 years, man. Like it's August currently when we're recording this, dear listeners of the future. It is August of 2024, but like with the exception of specialized industries, right? If you're a doctor or a lawyer or a nurse, or I'd say a mechanic, but even a lot of manufacturing places are laying off and stuff right now too. So, those high demand fields that are always going to be like specialized because it takes you 8 years to get that degree, so the talent pool is very small. You're not really ever going to have to worry about. I don't want to say never, but you're probably not going to have to worry about getting laid off. You're pretty much recession proof through everything. But just about every other industry, whether it's tech or social media or transportation, like you and I are in, just about every trucking company is laying people off. Left and right. I got laid off last year from my previous employer.
It's one of those.
The job market's crazy.
Like, and the average person, we'll take me as the average person, doesn't have a savings, doesn't have something they can dip into, doesn't have a safety net because, well, the cost of everything, granted, I'm speaking generally and not my own personal experience here. The cost of things are so high these days. It's hard for the average person to create a savings. So if let's say I got laid off tomorrow, I would be beyond fucked. And I feel like there are a lot of families that are like that because as great as there's jobs out there, those jobs aren't paying $50,000 plus. Those jobs are paying $15 an hour, which I don't know if you've seen the cost of rent these days, and the average mortgage, the average house price. $15 an hour is not going to keep a roof over your head. So like, it's one of those things that I feel bad because I know somebody personally that was just laid off, like just out of the blue. And I'm like, what is he going to do? If everybody in the same kind of industry is laying people off, you can't be like, okay, cool, you laid me off, I'm going over here to your competitor now because they don't have the room.
There's not room anywhere, Yeah. And there's something to be said for having diverse experience and being valuable so that when you are placed in that position, you can, broaden your pool a little bit. But it's terrifying, man. Like I have a ton of experience in our industry. I have diverse experience across a few different industries. And I was unemployed for 8 months before I found a job that fit the criteria. And like, I did some odd jobs here and there between, you know, point A and point B. I did some contracting consulting work and delivered Uber Eats for you know, a couple bucks here and there to make ends meet.
Yeah.
And you know, for me, like, it was a terrifying situation because we're a single income household, right? Like, Emily's a stay-at-home mom. So when I lost my job, it was completely out of the blue. And we went from being flush, like we were good with my income, where we could be a single income household and be totally fine, to having nothing coming in the door, right? And it was terrifying because you know, I've lost jobs before, and I quit jobs at random without anything lined up after it when I was young and dumb. But I was young and dumb, and it was the only repercussions of that hit me. Now I have a wife and a child who are dependent on my income. Like, I am the sole provider for our household, and I was not able to provide. And you know, luckily, due to a lot of planning and frankly a fair amount of luck, we made it through that time frame. And now I'm back in a gainfully employed position. But man, it makes you appreciate your job so much more too. Like, not to say that I was kicking back at my last job, but I appreciate this job with a reverence that I have not had for any other job in my life, because I know what the other side of it looks like right now.
Yeah. So like my last position before my current one, like they let me go under bullshit pretenses, and like I don't know if I've told you the story, but like anybody that has heard, and I know there's three sides to every story, your side, their side, and the truth, but like I am a truthful person, so I will tell you straight up, like I was let go for bullshit reasons. And so like when I got my current position, you bet your ass I fucking worked hard to make sure that if it ever came down to it, they'd be like, oh, this guy, yeah, we definitely don't want to lose him. But like, there's sometimes you could be the hardest working motherfucker and they will still let you go because you make too much money. You got written up that one time, you know, a decade ago, kind of thing. And that's the sad reality of it. But you mentioned being diverse and experienced. So, from my personal experience, I agree with you. Okay, my issue is once we become our age, we're pretty much have our set experience for jobs, right? Mine was military experience, warehousing experience, and now logistics. I lose my job, and well, for one, I can't go back into the military
Yeah.
for various reasons. And no, I was not kicked out. You know, it was an honorable discharge, but I cannot go back into the military. Um, Logistics, like you said, left and right, every company's letting people go, so I can't really go somewhere else. Warehousing, like they're letting people go because they're trying to save as much money as possible because things aren't shipping out because logistics companies can't afford XYZ. So like,
Yep.
but I have a fuck ton of experience in a lot of things. You and I have talked about I'm a jack of all, or you and I are jack of all trades, but a master of none. But
Yeah.
in job interviews, well, what are you good at? Well, I'm good at all of these things, but not in a professional sense. And they kind of like, well,
Well, don't say that.
well, I mean, because I'm on it, like, hey, do you have any sales experience? Well, yes, I do, because I fucking sell cars all the goddamn time. Like, that's what
There you go.
do.
End of sentence. Yes, I do. That's
Like,
a truthful answer.
but like looking at my resume, like, okay, so you said you have sold cars, but I'm looking at your resume and you never worked for a car dealership. Like, and so that's when I say not in a professional manner. I do it on the side as my hobby. But they don't like that. Obviously, I'm not trying to be a car salesman. Like,
Yeah.
God, such a terrible industry. Nothing against car salesmen, but like I couldn't do it.
Yeah. It's
So
rough stuff.
It's hard for the average person who has been doing the same thing or the same two or three things for let's say 10, 15, 20 years to get a job once you're 30, 35 years old. Like what do we do? Your job fires you tomorrow. What do you do?
Yeah. Panic.
Yeah. Okay. So after the panic, like then
Yeah.
what?
The biggest thing for me is networking, right? And you know that just because you know who I am as both as a professional and social person. I know everybody. I know somebody who does something everywhere, and part of that is just because I am a really social person. I like talking to people, and part of it is strategic, right? When I lost my job, the first thing that I did is call everybody I knew who was at a director or executive level position at a company and say, "Hey, this is where I'm at. How can you help me out? Like, what have you got?" And unfortunately, because the economy is in such a rough place, it still took me a hugely long time, even with the network that I have and the resume that I have. It took me a long time to find a spot that was, you know, someplace that I was going to land and stay, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the thing, is at the end of the day, like if I hadn't been prepared, and I hadn't had the savings and the safety net, if you will, that I had in place, that don't get me wrong, was a lot of work to be have myself in that position, that when I was laid off, I was able to survive until I found something ideal, and I didn't just have to take the next thing that came up. I could have found a job, but like you said, what does $15 an hour really do for you, right? It barely gets you from day to day. Like that doesn't even cover groceries, nonetheless my rent and everything else to just survive. um and man, it's rough and it's scary, dude. Like
No, I know,
having that weight of the economy hanging over your head as a dad is a rough. And I mean, as a person, but
yeah,
especially as a provider,
because like we live in the world that like, and yes, I know I'm going to say a phrase that people are going to hate me for, but like I feel like it still rings true today. Like dads are still kind of the sole providers, the breadwinners, the one who may, yes, there are special
well,
circumstances.
stereotypically, yeah. Less so now than it was, or less true now than it was 50 years ago, but that is still a social norm.
Yeah, like I want to say like most of the people that I know in my life, like the male figure in the household is the one who like makes the most, or is the only one working. Like, okay, cool, like I get it. So, you know, it's just like I just I don't know. Like it's a scary feeling to be laid off, to have no better experience than what I know, because resumes. We'll talk resumes here. There's no right way to do a resume at all. Google will tell you 700 different things. You talk to any recruiter, any resume writer, and everybody says something different.
Well, because
Like,
the thing is, every job is different, every industry is different, and every recruiter or hiring manager is different. So yeah, I may feel a certain way about resumes, right? I've been in a couple positions at various companies where I was, either a hiring manager or somebody who was in the position to hire. And so I have opinions about what I think a resume should look like. But people who recruit for a major company that look at 1,000 resumes a day are going to have different opinions than me, who, when I was hiring for a position, I got maybe 30 applicants over the entire course of the time the job was posted. Um, I the way that I analyze resumes is probably a little bit deeper than somebody who has to dig through 1,000 a day, who
uh,
is just looking for those buzzwords or those highlights or those green flags and red flags to sift through and find whatever rises to the top.
and it's just like yeah, we've all been victim of the ATS, that keyword resume finder bullshit, and it is terrible because as me, and nobody that I work with will ever watch this or listen to this, so I'm good to say this. I haven't been applying for jobs since 2021. I have gotten none of those jobs. Thousands of jobs sent out there, and I've gotten none of them. So when I got laid off, let me tell you how scared I was. Like, how in the fuck? A year later, I got laid off. Let me tell you, the panic, the fear, the everything that set in. I was like, I couldn't get a job when I had a job. Where the fuck am I going to find a job now that I don't have a job? Because I told myself, and I made a joke all the time, if I ever got fired or let go, or if I quit a job because of whatever X bullshit reason, I'd go work at McDonald's.
Yeah.
So I applied for a management position at McDonald's because that's what my level of expertise was. He's like, yeah, so we're not going to give you the position that you applied for. We're going to give you one less than that, and we're going to pay you about $20,000 less. And I was like, again, it pretty much sums up to that $15 an hour. It's like I can't live off that. I have a family. Like, you got to think, I've
Yeah.
got a wife and 2 kids or 3 kids. Yeah, because Ivy was born at the time. A wife and 3 kids. What am I supposed to do? Yes, we are a dual income household, but like our bills matched our pay.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's, I mean, honestly, that was the first thing that I did immediately after after the panic subsided and I stepped into action mode. I mean, the biggest thing was just analyzing what are we paying for that we don't need to be, right? Like the Netflix subscription is gone, the whatever monthly subscription services, Spotify's, anything that's not absolutely necessary, cut it out, because like we live a pretty luxurious life, right? And we are privileged to do so. When that privilege went away, so did that luxury, right? Like we had to cut back and adjust.
So like the shitty thing, and not to cut you off here, like the shitty thing is, I feel like, yes, you can cut those things off. I'd say also think about your mental health beforehand, because like, let me say you cut everything off and now you have nothing to entertain / distract yourself. You don't have anything to entertain or distract your children, because I mean, you have Samsung TV. Like, we have a Samsung and it comes with the free channels. I don't know if any other TV does it, but like, that's neither here nor there. But I want to say the big thing is, like, when it comes to car payments, you lose your job, you can't get rid of your car. The interest rates have made car payments so outrageous that most people are negative on their cars. Like, you can cut the Netflix, which is what, $15 a month. Like, I don't know. I don't pay the Netflix. So let's say Netflix is 15. Spotify just went up to 17.
Yeah, I mean, they're all small costs, but they all add up, right? I mean,
like, if you're saving $100 a month, like, okay, cool. But if your rent is $2,500 a month, saving that $100 a month isn't really beneficial.
It's a drop in the bucket.
Yeah. So then most people are like, hey, let me sell my car. Well, you can't, because you're upside down on your car a few $1,000s now. Like, it's just, it's a, and now I'm going to go on some super fucking tinfoil hat bullshit here, but like,
I was going to say, this is where I tangent off and tell people never to finance cars, because it's the dumbest investment that you can ever make, and it's the worst decision you can possibly have, and you should buy your cars in cash. And once your car is fully paid off, just squirrel away a car payment every month like you would if you were paying a financed price. And then after a while, you'll have enough money to buy your next car in cash and just keep that cycle going, because car payments are the shittiest thing in the world. And car financing, you end up paying, you end up drastically overpaying for your car. No matter how good of a deal you get on it and how great the financing is and how low the rates are, you're always going to pay too much for your car if you finance your car.
Yeah, because I just paid off the Jeep a couple months ago, and had I done the entire, I don't know, 6 years it was, like, I would have paid about $20,000 more than their sticker price.
Yeah.
Like, yes, I understand.
And by the time that loan is up, your vehicle is also worth maybe 20% of what you paid for it to begin with, if you're lucky. I mean, depending on the car.
If you're lucky, yeah. And it just, I'm not going to go on a whole tangent on buying used cars. Let me tell you how stressful that is. But like, again, it's another bill you can't get rid of. Like, you lose your job. Let's say the average household makes $50,000. Just throwing a random number out there. A car payment for anything on the lot is at least what, $600-$700. Your rent,
I would have no way of knowing. I don't finance cars, but
I mean, her car is financed from a couple years ago. But like,
yeah,
the average rent, let's say, is $2,000. That's if you moved within,
if you're lucky, yeah.
Like, I'm not going to do the math here, but like, $50,000 doesn't cover your rent and your car payment plus anything else.
Yep. Well, and that's, I mean, almost without question, you're going to end up going into debt, right? Because if you don't have anything coming in and you're not prepared for it, which, I mean, the best case scenario is to have a safety net, right? It's to have money saved, but not everybody is in the position where they can do that, right? A lot of people are living hand to mouth. A lot of people are living paycheck to paycheck. And that's stressful for a lot of reasons, but it's absolutely stressful if you're living paycheck to paycheck and then that paycheck disappears.
So like I know like I'm not going to go into your situation unless you want to. Like obviously you're very smart. You got lucky, air quotes here. I wouldn't say it's more luck, but like your intelligence, your brains helped you get to the safety net you had. A lot of people rely on Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey, I feel like his information is a little outdated, especially because of the economy we live in. Like it's hard to save money. Like
Yes and no. It's easier than it's. It is easy to justify not saving money.
that's preach to the choir here.
Yeah. So I mean, Dave Ramsey. There's a million people, similar financial advisor types that have written books or have podcasts or all kinds of stuff. We can have a whole other episode of this show about budgeting and the importance of maintaining a savings account and finances for your future and for your kids' futures, because it's hours and hours of content. There are whole podcasts that are dedicated to that have hundreds of hours of that content. But I mean, at the end of the day, the big thing is just when you are flush, right? You've got two incomes and you're covered. Look where you can cut back and what you can set aside. Part of the reason why we made it through the unemployment stretch that I had is because without going down into the whole story, I left a major corporation to go and work at a smaller company. It wasn't like a startup, but it was a smaller company. And by nature of going from a large corporation to a smaller company, there are inherent risks with that, right? Mm-hmm. The odds of a $1 billion corporation going bankrupt are significantly less likely than a smaller company going under, just because of the way that capitalism works. The more money you have, the more bomb-proof you are.
Yeah.
And so when I took that job, we started saving a lot more money because the chance of that job going away was more present. Again, didn't expect it to happen, did not see the layoff coming when it did come, but we kind of had it in the back of our heads that like, hey, I don't have that $1 billion corporate safety net now. I need to be conscious of the fact that this company could go under and I could be without a job. And so we were better prepared when I did lose my job at that company, even though it wasn't under the circumstances that we were expecting it to be. We were better prepared because we had kind of stored up for that.
I want to say, and obviously, like, I have nothing but respect for you, so don't take this the wrong way, but you are definitely in the minority on this because you have that thought process. I want to say I fall into the majority where, like, hey, I'm making $100,000 a year. I'm going to live $100,000 a year lifestyle. Like, I'm not going to go buy new cars and shit, but like, you're like, hey, I can afford this. I can afford this. I can afford this. And suddenly the rug's taken out from under you and you can't afford all these small things anymore.
It's lifestyle bloat, man. And I think you're absolutely right. I think the majority of people think the way that you do. Hey, I'm making 20% more. I have 20% more to spend. Whereas me, I'm like, if I got, from some miraculous instance, I got a 20% pay increase tomorrow, my lifestyle would not change at all. We might go out to dinner a little bit more often, or, I might shop another shelf up on the liquor shelf when I go to the store than I do right now. But like from a total lifestyle perspective, that 20% pay increase means that I get to retire 20% sooner. And I'm going to keep living exactly the way I am and put that money on the end of my life so that I don't have to work until I'm 90,
And I know a lot of, you read the comment sections in a lot of Facebook groups, videos, whatever, like, hey, if you get a pay raise, put that extra money aside, put it in savings.
Yeah, invest it.
Like, or investing it, which is, there's a risk to that, but we're not going to get into that.
There's a risk in having your money sit in a bank while American currency devalues again and again and again and gets less and less too. Just saying. If your money is just sitting in a savings account, it's losing value every day because the value of the dollar is going down. But
I mean,
again, this isn't a financial podcast.
You're not wrong, but No, so they say put that money aside because you never know what's going to happen. You're already used to living. Let's say that does take the $50,000. I already said you're used to living off $50,000. You get that 20% pay raise. You know, you're comfortable. I think it comes into, and again, guilty of it. Like, hey, now I can afford to put my kid in gymnastics, football, whatever, fucking whatever. I'm trying to just hit all the points
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Like, hey, I have a little bit more money. Oh, my car is going bad. I can go buy a new car. I can do this, and then suddenly you're, again. I am guilty of
So,
this, so I don't look down on anybody who does this because I have done this and I still do it to this very day.
well, and not to put you on blast, but when we were talking about if you lose your job, how you cut out the little things, right? You cut out the Spotify premium subscription, you cut out the Netflix, and those are little things that's just a drop in the bucket. It's those little things that are just a drop in the bucket that add up in the way that you're talking about when you get that 20%, right? If you make $50,000 a year and you get a $20,000 pay raise, so you're making $70,000 a year, you can be like, okay, I'm going to keep living the way I am, but because we have this extra wiggle room, I'm going to put my kid into soccer, or I'm going to get that premium subscription, or I'm going to, and those little things start adding up. If you're not really meticulous with your budget and paying attention, before you know it, you're spending that $20,000. You're not saving any of it. You're
No, I
probably going
know.
to spend $25,000 because you're bad at it.
I am bad at it. Like, guilty as charged. I think it also, like, because I'm in the mindset of like I want to be goody where I can retire 20% sooner than the next guy, but like I'm also like I'm terrible at taking care of myself, so like I'm gonna fucking live my life how I fucking want to right now. I know, and I bet you a lot of us do it. There's no right way to fucking live. Okay,
Yeah.
I'd say like take a little bit of my shit, take a little bit of your shit. Um, find that happy medium. Don't, and I'm not saying anything about how you do it. There are some people who I have $100 a month for groceries. Obviously, that's not plausible, but like
Yeah.
go splurge every once in a while. Live your life because you only live once. As much as I hate saying that phrase,
YOLO.
I said it the other day. And I was like, God damn, I'm old.
Yeah. No, but
It's
but I mean, you're
it's
right. It's a, and we talked about it a little bit in our all things in moderation chat that we had a while ago, that like, you know, if you live, with your foot to the floor, gas pedal all the way down, you're going to run out of money quick. If you squirrel all of your money away and never do anything with it, what's the point of having it, right?
it's
there's
part of
there's got to be
life.
a there's got to be a middle ground there, that you find that happy medium. My grandfather always used to say, if you live your life right, you never want for anything, but the check to the morgue bounces. um and I liked that. I like that, and I try to live that out too, right? Because I want to spend the money that I have on the people that I care about, and doing the things that I love, and investing in myself and in my hobbies and in my family. And if part of that is putting that money away so that I have years that I don't have to work, right? I mean, 40 hours a week to spend with my wife instead of in an office, that's an investment, right? That's something that I want more of.
No, and that's a good point because a lot of us, me again, all we know is work. We work our asses off 6, 7 days a week, and we lose all that time. Like tomorrow, I will say tomorrow is the first time in probably about 2 months I'm gonna have a I'm taking tomorrow off to have a 3 day weekend because I have worked 6 days a week for the past 2 months. I don't know anybody listening. I work 80 hours a week, 7 days a week. I get it. What I'm saying is I didn't have to, but I did it, and it has affected my life
Yeah.
negatively. So sometimes take that step back because your job won't let you go because you took that extra day off. Like work hard, show that that you shouldn't be the person let go amongst all these layoffs and all these companies across the board, across the nation. Um, but like you say, save a little bit. $20 invested into something could turn into $1,000, could turn into $10,000, could turn into whatever. Like, are you going to miss that $20? No, $20 is going to Chick-fil-A for a fucking meal, a large meal that most of us will fucking eat anyways.
Yeah, but hey, man, pause for a second. Even if that $20 doesn't turn into anything, maybe when you get laid off, that $20 is the difference between getting Chick-fil-A once during your unemployment or making rent because you were $20 short. Like, it doesn't
Okay, that's
have
fair.
to it doesn't have to appreciate to come back around and help you out. Like, the whether it's $20 or $100 tomorrow, it's still going to be money that will help you out.
No, I mean, okay, yeah, that's a good way to look at that because I try to think of investing, and I'm terrible at investing. I've lost money in every single thing I fucking invested in, except for Dogecoin back in 20 fucking whenever it blew up. Like, that's the only time I've ever made money in the stocks or in the fucking investing. So don't ever take investing advice from me. But yeah, like be smart about your shit. I'll always be prepared to, I grew up with the phrase expect the worst but hope for the best. Do I
Yeah.
live my life that way? Not particularly. I try to, but I think it is a good phrase that my stepdad had taught me that kind of stuck with me. The only good advice that man has ever given me in my fucking life. Um, like you never expect to be laid off, but it could happen. Again, somebody I know personally just got laid off, and I bet you he went into work that morning thinking that he was going to go home for the weekend and come back on Monday morning. So it could happen to anybody. The smallest thing, or again, like companies want to lay off people to make it look like they're making more money. I don't know the logistics of it. I'm bottom of the totem pole, but that's here nor there. Um, Prepare for the future the best you can. $5 here, $10 there. So if you ever look behind me on this podcast, I've got shit I could sell. Sell it if you're not using it. Put that money away for a rainy day. It doesn't have to be Dave Ramsey's 30 or what is it, 60, 90 days of fucking rainy day fund. Something's better than nothing.
Also, those things are investments in their own right, right? A lot of people, when they think about investing money for the future, they think about having a high yield savings account or having a stock portfolio or having a 401k. There's something to be said for having things that you enjoy that, if worst comes to worst, you can sell.
Which
And that can be a project car that you have, right? That's not your daily commuter, but if you lose your job and you have to sell that project car, that's a couple $1,000s that might float you rent for a month. If you've got Fallout merchandise or collectibles from franchises that you like, it's probably not going to be a couple $1,000s, right? Your Fallout bottle cap isn't going to cover your rent, but enough of those things in your collection, you sell all of your collection of something and it can get you there. And that sucks, right? That's the
yeah,
downside of being laid off is getting rid of your stuff, because the stuff that you have, you like and you got for a reason.
and you don't want to get rid of
But
it. Like,
but it's better than being on the streets, man. Like, keeping the roof over your family's head is huge.
no, I
All right.
know. And like my whole thing is like when I buy something, I try to make sure that if worst case scenario happens, I could sell it for at least what I paid for it. Do I own things that I bought for sticker price? Sure. You go buy that car off Facebook Marketplace. Make sure that, again, from my own personal experience, make sure that if shit hits the fan, you can at least get what you paid for it.
Yeah.
I'm a car guy, so I buy cars, a couple $1,000s. I don't want to spend $5,000 and it's only a $1,000 car to the rest of the fucking world. But again, something's better than nothing. If you buy a car for $5,000 and next month you get laid off and all you can sell it for is $1,000, again, $1,000 is better than nothing.
Yeah. One last thing here before we wrap up the episode. A quick pitch for men's mental health, because it doesn't get talked about enough. Being laid off is incredibly stressful and really challenging. The fear of being laid off is incredibly stressful and very challenging. Uh, don't let that stress overwhelm you. Seek help if you need it. Talk to people, talk to your partner. Let your partner know if you're feeling scared about losing your job, or even if you're comfortable and don't think that you're going to lose your job, but you're seeing other friends and other companies laying people off. Have those conversations and talk about it, because uh, being transparent and open and communicative with your partner and with your other friends can really do a lot to ease some of that anxiety, or at least share the burden, right?
Yes,
It might
exactly.
not, going to therapy isn't going to fix the economy, but it might help you deal with the economy a little bit better. So take care of yourself and stay whole, because it's a scary time that we're living in right now.
And if somebody's going through that, reach out to us, because we have both been, you've been laid off, I've been fired, we've both been in the same situation of how are we going to make ends meet. Like, any situation you're in, reach out to us, comment, email, so all of our social medias are always posted down below. um, we haven't heard from anybody, but like, we want to. Again, we are here to help you guys. We're not here because we like to hear ourselves talk. I hate the way my voice sounds. So make this worth my time.
Well, until next week, I'm Andrew Goody,
And I'm Derek Mata.
and we are proud of you.